Beantown's garage owner, Boss, grunted as he reached for the phone. Beantown Garage, Boss speaking.
Good morning, boss. It's Chief Sparks. I'm at the fire station. I just realized Laddie needs a tune-up. It's been a while.
Boss turned and looked outside. A long line of beans and their motor spoons waited. Every bay in the garage was full. It created a problem, but Laddie was the town's fire truck and top priority. No problem, Chief. You want me to send Bucky to pick up Laddie?
That would be perfect. I have to examine the town's hydrants. I won't be here. Please make sure he's careful. Mayor Hasbean's made it clear only the fire team or Bucky can ride with Laddie. Insurance requires it.
Don't worry. Bucky understands. He'll pick up Laddie alone and bring him in. We'll have him tuned and delivered to you in no time.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Hey, gotta check out those hydrants.
Boss hung up the phone and walked into the garage's bay area. Bucky, I know it's busy, but Chief Sparks just called. He's got an emergency. We need to tune and oil Laddie. You have to get him and bring him here. I'll tell Batty to grease this spoon. Robo and I will do the rest.
Gee, boss, you sure? I mean, look at this line of spoons. Can you spare me?
Of course. It's Beantown's fire truck. You need to get him.
Okay, I'll call Betty and see if she can give me a lift. That way I can drive Laddie back and forth.
Bucky and Betty were best friends and did almost everything together. If one of them needed a hand, the other helped. Boss walked to the next bay, picked up his wrench, and went to work. Bucky hustled to the office, picked up the phone, and dialed. He looked at the clock. It was 12 p.m. The breakfast shift was over at the Double Dip Diner. He knew Betty would be available. The phone rang.
Double Dip, Betty speaking. How can I help you?
Betty, it's me, Bucky. I'm at the...
Hey, Bucky, what a treat! I just finished my breakfast shift, and I'm about to go to my dog walking business.
Betty, Chief Sparks just spoke with Boss. Laddie, the fire truck, needs a tune-up. Can you drive me to the fire station and pick him up?
Betty was Beantown's successful teen on every level. She owned businesses from dog-sitting services to hair salons, tanning booths to smoothie shops. She had a championship roller derby team. She flew helicopters, ran election campaigns for Mayor Hasbean, and won marathons. If there was a super bean, it was Betty. Her day was full, but she did some quick calculations and saw a solution. She'd have her friend, Callie, stay extra time at the dog walking business.
Sure, Bucky. I'll be right over.
Bucky went back inside, grabbed some tools, and helped Boss and Robo with one of the spoons. Minutes later, every bean jumped when they heard a screech of brakes. Betty arrived, blew her horn, and whistled. She screamed.
Hey, Bucky, I'm here.
Bucky blushed. The entire town knew he had a crush on Betty.
I see that, Betty. Thanks. Let me grab my coat.
Bucky raced into the garage, grabbed his jacket, and leaped to Betty's spoon. They were off. Downtown traffic was gridlocked to the Emerald City Mall and beyond. Always thinking, Betty turned off Yellow Brick Road onto Little Red Riding Hood Drive and sped through the Lima Bean section of town. She found every shortcut possible. Bucky held on to his seat for dear life. He was a spoon racer and could handle speed when he had the wheel. When Betty drove, he was petrified.
You know, Bucky, I've looked forward to this day. I've never been to the fire department.
Well, you mean you've seen the outside, but not the inside.
Yes, I meant on the inside. Do you think we'll see the ghost?
The ghost? What ghost? There's no ghost. Why'd you even say that?
Well, that's where the town put the first Halloween haunted house. And there was one ghost, not like the others. In fact, it was so real, it frightened every bean, not just the sprouts. When they asked it to take off its costume, it got scarier and meaner. It emptied the entire fire station. Now, Chief Sparks doesn't like to talk about it, but the ghost often appears. He looks like a firefighter from the olden days. The other day, the Beantown Gazette reported the ghost leaves candy wrappers around the station. Pretty scary, huh?
Well, I don't know about ghosts, but I do know I better get Laddie back to the garage or I'm in big trouble.
Betty pulled her spoon into the fire station's parking lot and shut the motor.
Okay, so let's go in.
They opened the doors, stepped out, and walked inside. The fire station smelled great with rubber from the giant tires, smoke from the boots and jackets, and a slight smell of dog. Chief Sparks was a Dalmatian dog bean. His keen nose could smell a fire from blocks, even miles away.
So what do you think? Isn't this something?
Oh, wow! That's a beautiful fire truck.
That's Laddie.
She turned toward Laddie and caught every detail. She took a deep breath. She never imagined she'd be inside the fire station. She inspected everything. Bucky grew nervous. He was supposed to be back at the garage.
Betty, what are you doing? I've got to get Laddie to the garage.
I know. I'm just curious. I love all this fire stuff. Besides, I'm looking for candy wrappers. Maybe the ghost left a few.
Betty, you're scaring me. I don't believe in ghosts, so can I just get going?
Betty changed the subject.
Bucky, can I drive over there with you? Can I ride in the fire truck?
Bucky quivered. He dreaded this.
Aren't you going to drive your spoon back home? Don't you have something to do?
Betty would not take no for an answer.
But I'd really like to be in a fire truck. Could I just go with you? Just this one time and ride in it, please?
I don't know, Betty.
I'll be real good.
I don't know. They told me I'm supposed to bring him back alone. Nobody gave me permission to let you...
Betty interrupted.
I'm sure they'd be fine, knowing you're taking someone who always wanted to ride in a fire truck.
Before he could answer, Betty grinned, nodded, and climbed aboard.
Okay, give me a hand up.
Bucky's gut told him things were moving too fast. Betty climbed on the truck. With each step Betty took, Bucky's guilt grew. He broke his word with Boss and Chief Sparks. He made a silly excuse. He would call this an exception. He helped Betty into Laddie's cab.
Well, come on. Okay, get in. Close that door. Listen, when we get to the...
Betty took a deep breath, looked in the back, sides, and front.
Wow, it's so neat in here.
Yes, it's really beautiful.
Look at all those buttons. Lots of buttons.
Bucky felt his hair stand up. He stared at Betty.
Don't touch anything. You promised, remember?
I won't.
Betty insisted.
Please, you're not supposed to be in here. You told me you're going to behave, right? You're not going to do anything weird, right?
Yes. But what are all these buttons for?
Please, why don't you relax? I got to back Laddie out of here. Let me see. How do I do this? Boy, he's big. Hey, will you check the sides to make sure I don't hit anything?
Bucky put Laddie in reverse and looked in his mirrors. He was careful not to scrape the sides. He gobbled like a goofy goose.
When we get back to the garage, what we're going to do is we're going to get in Tony the tow truck, and then I'm going to drive you back, and then you can pick up your spoon, and then...
Betty couldn't believe it. Bucky was losing it. He continued to babble. He wanted the ride to be finished without getting caught. Betty turned to him and put her hand on his arm.
Do you think you could let me drive?
Bucky's head spun so fast, Betty thought it might come off.
Betty, come on. See? This is what I was afraid of. First you asked me if you can get in. Now you're going to ask me if you can do other stuff. You said you'd behave. Just relax, please. You're not supposed to be in here. I'm supposed to take Laddie straight to the garage, okay? Can you do that for me, please? Can you just enjoy the ride?
I promise. I'll sit right here. I won't move.
Okay. Enjoy the ride. Please, Betty. Please.
Not a minute passed.
What's the shifter for?
Bucky turned his head so fast, he heard his neck crack.
What did you say?
I just asked what the shifter's for. What's wrong?
What's wrong? I'm not stupid. I know you're up to something.
Bucky, please. Now it's you that has to relax. I just want to know what it does. What's wrong with that?
Bucky took another deep breath.
That's to shift.
Can I just touch it?
No, don't touch the shifter. No, look, I'm driving.
Betty looked up and down the street. Beans everywhere stared.
Wow, look at that. Bucky, you see everyone looking at us?
That's why you gotta behave. They don't know why you're in Laddie with me, so just...
Can I wave to them?
Wave to? Okay, go ahead, wave.
Oh, look! We're in a parade!
Not really, but okay. Yes, it's like a parade. Every time you're in a fire engine, you're right. Beans love to stare at a fire engine, especially Laddie. The more reason you have to behave, Betty. We don't want to get caught.
They moved down Main Street. Beans waved, but were confused. Chief Sparks drove Laddie, not two everyday Beans.
Oh, what's this button for?
Before Bucky could answer, Betty sounded the siren. Laddie screamed down the street at full wail. Now they had real attention.
Oh my gosh, what did you do?
I don't know! Shut it off, Bucky! Shut it off!
You sounded the siren.
Oh, I'm scared! I'm scared!
Shut it off, Betty. Shut the siren.
Betty found the button and stopped the siren. She turned her head and gave Bucky the sweetest smile. She was having so much fun.
Did you see everyone look?
I know they looked. They think we're on our way to a fire.
You're right. All the drivers pulled their spoons to the side of the road.
Sweat poured down Bucky's face and back. It was too late. He was in trouble. Some bean was sure to call the fire station and report 2 everyday beans were driving Laddie. Bucky checked to see if anyone followed, especially Officer Lima, Bucky's friend. Often, Lima brought his police cruiser, Chase, to the garage. Though they were friends, Bucky knew Lima wouldn't be pleased.
Hey, what's this button for?
Bucky stopped. He forgot Lima. He saw her hand on the bell button.
Don't touch that. That's the bell.
Too late, Betty pressed the bell, and more beans stared.
Now we're really in a parade. Look at everybody.
More spoons pulled aside. Pedestrians turned and gawked. Before he could issue another warning, Betty struck again.
Hey, what's this one?
Bucky took his eyes off the road.
That's the blaster. Be careful.
Now the siren, bell, and blaster did their jobs. Spoons pulled over. Pedestrians jumped, held their ears, and watched.
Oh, we just scared some beans.
I know. Everybody's...
He didn't get the words out of his mouth.
Oh, the lady with the stroller, she really looked at us.
Well, she almost pushed that baby onto the street. Betty, do you blame her?
Bucky wasn't happy. Betty was. She giggled.
I think she was excited, thinking we were going to go put the fire out in somebody's bean pot.
Betty's mouth moved quicker and faster. Her eyes picked up every fun thing she might play with.
What's this for?
Don't touch anything else. Please.
Hey, Bucky, look behind us.
Bucky peeked. Laddie's ladder went up. Betty had touched the button.
It looks like the ladder's going up. Wow.
Bucky watched the ladder grow up and up. His stomach tipped worse.
Oh, Betty, you put the ladder up.
I know, how fun. But do you think the ladder should be up while we're driving?
Bucky gaped. The ladder scraped leaves and knocked limbs from the maples and oaks lining Main Street.
Oh, Betty, this is not good. This is...
I don't think you should have let me touch that one, Bucky.
Bucky couldn't believe it. This was his fault. Then again, Betty could make him feel it was. He should have trusted his instinct. His mistake was to allow Betty inside.
I told you not to touch anything, but you went ahead and...
Bucky heard the approaching siren. Officer Lima and Chase gained fast.
Uh-oh, look.
Betty didn't look. She searched for more buttons.
What if I press these 2, maybe?
No, don't touch those. Don't touch. Look behind. You see that? You see that blue light? Guess who that is?
Betty turned, saw Officer Lima and Chase a few spoon lengths away. She didn't understand.
Why? Is there a problem? Hey, maybe Officer Lima wants to escort us.
Bucky's guts rolled like boiling water.
I don't think so. I think we're in trouble.
Do you think he wants to be in a parade?
No, I think we've got a parade already. Look, he's getting closer.
Hey, the parade's getting bigger. Here comes more blue lights. Bucky, we now have 2, 3, 4, and there's so much fun. Thank you.
Before Bucky could say anything, he saw every spoon and driver pull over. Betty noticed too.
Oh, wow. Now everybody's pulling over.
I know, Betty.
So why are you pulling over?
Well, because I think Officer Lima wants to talk to us.
Oh, do you think he'll understand?
Here he comes. We'll see.
Betty watched Officer Lima pull Chase over. He opened his door, put on his trooper hat, and approached.
I'm gonna let you explain.
She said.
No, thanks, Betty.
Because you should have stopped me from pushing all those buttons.
I know. It was my fault. You pushed the buttons. Hi, Officer Lima.
Officer Lima stared. He couldn't believe his 2 friends took Laddie for a joyride. Betty covered her eyes in shame. Then she broke the ice. She batted her eyes and winked.
Hi.
Bucky sat back in Laddie's driver's seat and shook his head. So far, this was quite a day. Somehow, he knew it had just begun. He hoped Officer Lima would understand. He heard his teacher, Professor Irwin's words. Use your bean, trust your heart, follow your gut. He made a promise, but broke it to please a friend. If he'd used his bean and followed his gut, he would have been back in the garage by now, not speaking to Officer Lima. Now he wished the fire station ghost rode with him, not Betty. Out of nowhere, a strange, eerie voice told him to look on Laddie's floor. Beside his foot lay a wrinkled candy wrapper. The end.